Good morning, y'all, and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me. Glad you're here. So we recently made a video about how much we spent this year on our trip to Maine.
$39,764.24.
And it's a lot of money. It's actually our most expensive trip that we've ever taken. Some of the categories are exactly the same price, but some of the categories we were spending more than double what we were used to spending. So one of the categories that blew us away on what we were spending was actually the one that we spent the most on this entire year. And it's how much we were spending on RV parks. We have spent a total of $14,704.69 on RV parks alone on this trip. That works out to a total of $2,100.67 a month and a daily total of $69.36 on RV parks. We've done a pretty good job of controlling our costs over the last 2 years of full-time living. We have spent an average of $32 a night on the previous 24 months. On this trip alone, in just 7 months, we've almost doubled our nightly expense on RV parks. So that got us thinking, this has been a great year for us. We have covered 15 states and 20 campgrounds. We stayed in some really awesome campgrounds and some that weren't so great. So we decided we should make a video and share with you all the campgrounds we stayed at this year, what we paid, what we thought about them, and if they were worth it. In order to do our campground review justice, I brought in the big gun here to help me give her opinion on what we thought about all of our stays this year, because we usually have two different opinions on whether or not we enjoyed our stay.
We absolutely do. The things you look for aren't the things I look for.
Just a reminder, our RVAC Solution Soft Start giveaway is still going on. You have until August 31st to get yourself in to win your very own Soft Start for your RV. And all you gotta do to get in to win, head to pavingnewpass.com and get yourself some merch and get yourself entered to win your very own Soft Start for your RV.
It's January and our trip is just starting. We're in Texas and we can't head north yet because it's cold. So we actually head south in Texas to Fredericksburg. Our first stop of the year was at a place called the Vineyards of Fredericksburg in Fredericksburg, Texas. We stayed there 10 nights at a price of $61.50 a night.
So the things I liked about it was that it was a fairly quiet campground.
Yeah.
The sites were a little bit larger than normal, what we're used to.
Fredericksburg is an older town. It's not really made for kids. You go there for the weekend, have a great weekend in the wine country or the hill country of Texas, and then you go. We stayed 10 days. That was probably about 6 or 7 days too long.
There just wasn't enough for the kids to do on site, and there wasn't enough to do in the city.
Not a bad place. Great way to visit Fredericksburg. There's not much to do there. No.
Yeah, I don't think we'd go back to that one.
We finish up in Fredericksburg and we're joined by Alicia's parents and Thomas and Beverly, and we start our trek down to Big Bend, Texas. Our RV park down there is called Roadrunner Travelers in Terralingua, Texas. We stayed 16 nights at $48.76 a night. I actually love this park, and it's completely opposite from what we just said about Fredericksburg.
So in Fredericksburg, we had nothing to do inside of the park, like we said. But this place also didn't really have much to do for the kids, but the people in the park made the park. I think we could have spent a whole summer there.
The biggest thing about Big Bend is when you go to Big Bend, you really want to be in Big Bend. And this park gets you like 3 miles outside Big Bend National Park. You're out there in the middle of nowhere. You're in Big Bend country. There's nothing to do there but to be in Big Bend. So when you go to a place like that, you want to feel like you're in the place.
Right, you're like immersed in it.
So this RV park, even though all it had was a dog park and a few board games out, it was the perfect RV park and the perfect price to be in Big Bend, Texas.
Right, and I think that they know that people don't have a lot to do there because the small park had 2 community areas, like gathering areas that had fire pits and things. For me, 2 thumbs up.
Really enjoyed it. All right, so that's gonna do it for January. February starts off, we're still in Big Bend, Texas, and then we pack up and we leave and we head to New Braunfels, Texas. We actually end up staying at the Summit RV Resort right there in New Braunfels on the Guadalupe River. We stayed there for 14 nights at a price of $52.43 a night.
I think that was a great park, especially for caravanning, because we were all really close together. They had great playgrounds. I only wish that we had been there kind of like more summertime, because things you want to do in New Braunfels include like float the river or be outside in the water, and it was just a little too chilly for us to do any of those things. We did get to enjoy the hot tub, but we didn't have any pool action there.
Also, if you have a big rig, it's not ideal for a big rig. We drug tree branches getting in. We almost drug our tail getting out. It's not a flat campground. Great campground, really close to everything you want to do in New Braunfels. I think it's okay for the price. I'm not sure if that's the price in the season, but I would definitely go back.
I think the price probably doubles when you're in season.
We finish up our stay in New Braunfels and we say goodbye to Phil and Lolo and Thomas and Beverly, and we make a beeline to Memphis, Tennessee, because we have to fix the slide in our RV. And our first stay was actually just across the border in Horn Lake, Mississippi at Easy Days RV Park. So we stayed there 7 nights at a price of $63 a night. I will probably never go back to this one. It served its purpose. It was a good RV park with a concrete pad to allow us to use jacks to fix the slide. But it was very overpriced for what it was. Nothing was open as far as amenities, and it's right next to the airport, so you literally listen to planes non-stop.
My cons on this park is, remember we had to go so far to get to the playground? Like, it was like across a street.
Yeah.
And that's not very convenient when you're traveling with kids. Also, it felt like an all business park. Like, people are there to work, so they leave the park during the day, so there's really no one to talk with or have fun with. So for me, I wouldn't go back to this one.
It's not a terrible park. It's just not somewhere I would go to, because there's really no reason to be there unless you're trying to see Memphis. And even so, there's better places to stay, like the Yogi Bear right down the road. So that wraps up February. Welcome to March, and when we finally start our trip towards Maine. We also stay at 4 campgrounds in the month of March. So we were busy and on the move. The first one was Elm Hill in Nashville, Tennessee. We stayed there 5 nights at $63.80 a night.
I loved Elm Hill. I feel like we were very lucky to get in there because we kind of went a little before like the hotter weather came, and they say it's a very popular park. I love that they had an on-site food truck. That was great. The playground was great. The people there were great. The kids had a great time there. It was a little cramped, but we weren't there very much, so I didn't mind.
We didn't realize that Nashville was so awesome. I wish we would have given it more than 5 days, but we were actually reusing a credit from before Alicia got hurt.
Right.
So we had to use the 5 days to get our money's worth. If you have a big rig, it's a little tight parking, a little tight getting out, a lot of hills, but it's doable.
The views there are amazing because you're on like a peninsula, so there's water surrounding you like on 3 sides. It was great.
Our short stay in Nashville, Tennessee was over, and our next stop was Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and we stayed at the Pigeon Forge RV Resort. We stayed there 12 nights at a price of $77.22 a night. This RV park, I think, was really on the expensive side and wasn't really worth what they were charging. They were just charging it because they were pretty much like half a mile from downtown Pigeon Forge. Nice park, but a little bit on the overpriced side, and we were there before season, so I can only imagine how expensive it is during the season.
See, you and I differ on this one because I think 77 is reasonable for that park. They had that great little community area with the fireplaces where you could sit in the rocking chairs. They had awesome playgrounds. They had the pool that was heated, so people were actually in the pool with the big slide. And our site was really great. It was a bigger site because we were on the end, so I think it was worth it, and I would definitely go back there.
When I get to like the $70 mark, I think I'm there for the RV park, not for what's outside. When I went to Pigeon Forge, I went for what was outside, not the RV park.
Okay, that's a valid point, but for me, I would still go back.
We get done in Pigeon Forge, and we have to take a little detour. We jump up to West Virginia. It doesn't make sense on the map, but it makes sense for our travel plans because we're closer to West Virginia heading to Maine than we will be heading home from Maine. So we traveled to Princeton, West Virginia, and we stayed at Brush Creek Falls RV Resort. We stayed there for 7 nights at a price of $53 a night. We were there at the end of March, and nothing in West Virginia opens until April 1st.
For me, I'm never going back to this park. Between the interstate noise, like non-stop, plus we were in an area where there was a back road behind, or a small road behind us, and there was construction going on, so there was like dump trucks, and it was a really loud park. The playground, nah. Plus they wanted to charge us like $5 a person per game for mini golf. Just put it in the price of the park. That way you can offer it to everyone for free. For me, I'm not going back to this park.
Another reason I didn't like the park is because of its location. Even if the things we wanted to do in West Virginia would have been open, we were still driving almost an hour to go check things out. So I think next time I go to West Virginia, I'm moving closer to the things I want to see, but I will not be returning to Brush Creek Falls RV Resort. So we finished up in West Virginia, and it's time to go back down south and continue our journey towards Maine. And so we're just on the other side of the Smoky Mountains from Pigeon Forge in Asheville, North Carolina. We actually stay in the Pisgah Forest RV Resort. We stayed 10 nights at a price of $51.93 a night. Great RV park. I'm just never going back because I had to drag my camper on the ground getting out. Until he fixes that entrance, I just can't go back to the park. But it was a great park.
Park itself was amazing. There was lots of green area, places for the kids to run and play, the dog. They had a field area. That entrance though, that's a deal breaker for us. Even though the kids had a great time there, we can't go back.
Awesome park if you're into the outdoors and hiking, because you're literally like a mile from the Pisgah Forest National Forest, and so many state parks with waterfalls and hiking. Great time there. I just can't go back with my big rig until he fixes the angle on the driveway. And that does it for March. Welcome to April, and we're finally on the East Coast. Our first stop is the American Heritage RV Park in Williamsburg, Virginia. We stayed there 14 nights at a price of $71.28 a night. This is actually the first park where I told Alicia the Northeast is starting to get expensive, because when I see $70, I think it's a place that I go to stay at the RV park. Well, we're paying $70, and this is another one of those places. They're charging me that because I'm in Williamsburg. The park itself is not $70 worth.
I think if we ever chose to go back to Williamsburg, we would try a different park out. The sites were super cramped. The playground was the mini golf, not good. I don't even think it's worth $50 a night if it wasn't for the location.
I can see why you're charging me this, because it's close to what I want to do, but there's no reason for me to be in your park. Your park is not really that maintained. The pool wasn't open yet. It actually wasn't even full of water yet because it's not in season. The playground sitting area was broken. Alicia almost flipped out of a chair.
Yes, I sat on the picnic table bench and it just like, it wasn't nailed down on one side, so I almost went flying. Also, they have a lot of stored RVs there, and they're like in plain sight. The dumpsters weren't in a great location. Like, the whole park, I think, could use a refresh. The people who stay there seasonally, they say their sites flood, the sewer becomes a problem. So for me, we're not going back to that one.
Yeah, not going back to American Heritage. It could be a great park, but you have to clean up some things. We get done in Williamsburg and we head to Washington, D.C., and we stay at one of my favorite stays for this entire trip so far. We're in Washington, D.C. at Cherry Hill RV Park. We stayed there 10 nights at $108 a night. This is also the most expensive RV park we've ever stayed at in the history of our traveling.
And although it was the most expensive, I think we would have even given them like $30 more a night, if I'm being honest, because the park had so much to do. The only downside was we didn't plan enough days to be in the park. We were in Washington, D.C. so much that we didn't really have any downtime in the park to enjoy all that they had to do.
This park is packed full of so many amenities. This is the first time I did a tour of an RV park, and I said this is getting a little long because that's how much they have. I mean, there was 3 playgrounds, 3 pools, splash pads, 2 fishing ponds, you name it, they had it. And a super epic putt-putt course with dinosaurs and all kinds of animals. I mean, it was better than like most standalone putt-putt courses. Plus, they help you get to downtown DC through the RV park. They show you how to do it by truck, how to do it by bus, how to do it by subway. They have training classes on how to use the subway, which came in handy for us people from Texas.
They really take care of their customers there because they know people are coming to see Washington, D.C. They know it's a little bit of a headache if you're not used to subways and public transit and all that, and they take care of you. They make sure that you're gonna have a great time and that you're gonna wanna come back.
The park has enough. If you wanted to go just for Cherry Hill, you could never leave the park and you would have a great time. And if you want to go see Washington, D.C., you can literally be in downtown Washington, D.C. at the National Mall in about 20 minutes from the RV park. Love the park. I would definitely go back. It's expensive, but it's worth every penny. April's over. Welcome to May, and our first stop is Delaware. We're actually going to a Sun Outdoors in Rehoboth Bay Resort. We stayed there for 7 nights at a price of $69 a night. This was an awesome park. And I don't know if it's because we were starting to feel tired from our time in Williamsburg and Washington, but we actually only went out one day and filmed a video. The rest of the time we hung out at this RV park. We were actually there before season, so the park was empty, but we got to enjoy the swim up restaurant at the pool.
Any place that has a swim up bar and restaurant, come on, does it get better than that? Plus they had an on-site restaurant that had live music. They had a beach area, plenty of playgrounds. When a park tries to keep you inside the park with all their great amenities, you know it's a good one.
Great place to go relax and get away from it all. We leave Delaware and we head to New Jersey. This is actually the first of 2 stays in New Jersey, and we're actually in Cape May, New Jersey. This is also where we learned that Sun Outdoors, they're not all created equal. There's called a resort and there's called a retreat. We think we're at the resort, we're actually at the retreat, and we learned that the retreats are a little different than the resorts. They're more of full-time seasonal homes where there's people that never leave there. Well, they leave, their RVs never leave. The RVs are in the sites year-round, and they come up there for the entire season. We stayed there 7 nights at a price of $56.17 a night.
I think it's great if you have a seasonal site there and you know all your neighbors and you all get together for the weekends or the long holidays. I don't know that I would necessarily go back to that park. It was great, it did its job, but the playground, it was all right, and they did have activities. They weren't in season while we were there. I bet there's better RV parks for children there, and that's kind of where I judge everything, is how my kids are going to enjoy it. So I don't know, it wasn't anything special.
Our last weekend there, we saw what the park really becomes, because it's a happening place on the weekends. Everybody has golf carts, everybody knows everybody. They had a fishing pond, we caught some New Jersey bass. It was a good time, but it's not really made for traveling people. It's made for people that's where they go for the weekend and they go back to work. We probably would have had a better time had we stayed at the resorts, which was a mile on the road. They have the hot tub, the pools, all the amenities.
So next time we're gonna give the resort a try.
All right, we're done in South Jersey and we head to North Jersey. We head to a little town called Andover, and our stay is Panther Lake RV Resort. We stayed there 10 nights at a price of $72 a night. This is the place we almost got kicked out of because we read the rules, and the rules said no washer and dryer in the RV. Turns out it was just a miscommunication. It was a great park, good times, and that's when we met our tour guide, Miss Mossy.
You mean Mossy.
Mossy.
Yeah, I would absolutely go back to this park, because although it was like more seasonal weekenders that never leave, playgrounds were awesome. They had that lake where we could rent kayaks and stuff, so that was a lot of fun. They had the on-site store. I thought we had a great time there.
Plus, it got us really close to New York City, and our whole goal of going here was to have our big rig as close to New York City as we could without having to take it anywhere near New York City.
And I'm so thankful that Marcy was put on our path, because I can't imagine doing New York City without having met her first and her giving us the lowdown on what to do and how to do it. So I think the park was great, the people were great. I'd definitely go back.
We get done in Jersey and we head to Connecticut. We actually go to Mystic, Connecticut, and this is Memorial Day weekend, and we stay at the Sun Outdoors in Mystic. We stay for 7 days at $113.87 a night. This is now the new record for the most we've ever paid for an RV park. Great park, but not worth the price because of one thing. They don't have sewer. If you can only offer me water and electric, that's only 2/3 of the hookups. You can only charge me 2/3 of the price.
I think that they're a little deceptive in not disclosing that they don't have sewer, because we met several people that were quite shocked, like we were, when they got there and realized that there was no sewer. Although the park is great, the pool was great, the amenities, the playground, all of that was great, I'm not sure that I'd go back there, because I like to have full hookups.
We met so many people. We even got second place in a cornhole tournament. But I'm not going back simply for the fact that you were charging me the most I've ever paid, and I don't have sewer.
I don't think we'd stay there again.
Goodbye, May. Welcome to June. We get done in Mystic, Connecticut, and we travel to Rhode Island. Now, it's after Memorial Day, so we assume that we're in season. When we get to Rhode Island, we find out season doesn't start for 2 more weeks, because the kids are in school for 2 more weeks, and they're the employees at this next campground. We stay at Wabaloo Campground in Richmond, Rhode Island. We stayed 7 nights at a price of $70 a night, and this place actually is a perfect price and a perfect campground. This is a campground you go to hang out at the campground.
One thing that really turned me off about this place was the bathhouse. So we mentioned we didn't have sewer at the Sun Outdoors in Mystic. Awesome facilities for a bathhouse. When we got to Wabalome, you had to put coins in. It was coin operated, so you had to drop a quarter in to get water. The water pressure wasn't great. It didn't get very hot, so I didn't like that part of it. They kind of sold it as everything was going to be open. So the pool was open. It was freezing. The slide that Ashlyn was super excited to ride, the water slide, it was only open for like a short period on a Saturday. So we were there for quite some time and she didn't actually get to use it very much. So for me, it kind of turned me off that they're charging you this price, but everything's not exactly open.
In their defense, they actually had sewer sites, but we had to choose 30 amp with sewer or 50 amp and no sewer. And because we're from Texas, we assumed June's gonna be hot in Rhode Island. We were wrong. We wanted ACs. We actually could have had 30 amp and sewer and been just fine. I will say the water pressure there, not so good. And they offer a pump out service, but they charge you for it. They also charge you for everything. There's nothing free there if you wanna do it.
And if you know that you have sites without sewer, just make your bathhouse a little bit better. Like, I think they were working on it, so maybe it will get better, but you could just tell that it was an older park. And for me, I think there's probably better places we could have stayed.
We get done in Rhode Island and we head to Massachusetts. We're just south of Boston in Carver, Massachusetts, and we stay at a Yogi Bear Cranberry Acres. This was an awesome park. We stayed there for 14 nights at a price of $104.99 a night. I'm mixed feelings on this. This was a very expensive stay, but the park was pretty awesome.
And we knew we were having family come in town, so we splurged a little bit to stay here because we wanted to make sure they had a great time also. For all the things that they had for the kids, amazing. The water pressure being gone all day long because they were installing those cabins was kind of a problem, because then I couldn't wash clothes or do anything kind of that requires water during the day because it was almost non-existent.
They also opened the water park early, so we may have gotten a pretty good price because the water park wasn't supposed to be opening when we were there. We just talked to our friend Greg. He went and stayed there and it's in season now and he paid $180 a night. So in season price, I'm probably not going back.
We also had like a few issues with the things that they do on site for Jellystones or for Yogi Bears that involve the staff having to set things up and collect money and things like that. So like the foam party or the pizza party, things that you had to pay a little bit extra for, I don't think lived up to the money that we paid. Hopefully those things will get better as they are doing their transition, but I don't know. I don't think I'd go back.
We get done in Massachusetts and we finally make it to our first stop in Maine. So we stop in Old Orchard Beach at a Sun Outdoors. It's called Wild Acres, and we stayed there for 9 nights at $111.76 a night. Park is actually pretty cool. It's got a lot of amenities, and you're also like half a mile from Old Orchard Beach.
So this one felt a lot like the Sun Outdoors retreat that we stayed in Cape May, New Jersey, where it felt like everyone had a seasonal site there and they came and left on the weekends or long holidays. First off, we were too big for the site we were in, so if we ever stayed there again, I would want a bigger site. I think the staff here did a great job at all of the extra things they offer, like the ice cream sundae time, and they had like games set up for the kids. They brought in even that trailer with the video games in it on one of the weekends.
Tons of amenities. They had 4 pools, BMX track, a ropes course, fishing pond. The most amenities we probably ever had at a single park this entire stay. I just don't think I'd ever go back because it is mostly permanent residents.
This might be my southern root showing, but the people weren't particularly kind that were the seasonal sites there. Maybe they were just stressed from a long work week, but you could just kind of tell, like, people thought, oh, this is my area. Don't put your truck into my space. I'm not gonna move my car for you, so that you can get into your site a little easier, which I just think is a bummer because I think you should be kind.
You kind of felt like you weren't really welcome.
Yeah, like you're an outsider if you weren't one of the seasonal people. I don't think I'd go back to that one, even though it was a great park.
That does it for June. The culmination of our entire year, we get to Bar Harbor, Maine. We end up staying at Timberland Acres, just outside Bar Harbor, Maine. We stayed 14 nights at $64.50 a night. And for me, this RV park was the perfect RV park for what we were trying to do. We were trying to visit Bar Harbor. They had huge pull-through sites, they had a swimming pool, they had plenty of amenities, and the price was right.
This was one of those parks where you're kind of there to see everything outside of the park, not necessarily in the park. But what they did have in the park was still great. They brought in a waffle truck every Thursday night to make like waffle dessert treats for everyone. They had a great pool, they had a great playground. So it hit all the marks for me for when we were inside the park, but we really just didn't spend enough time in the park. We were there to see all the things outside.
We get done in Bar Harbor, Maine, and we head straight west to New Hampshire. We stay in Jefferson, New Hampshire at the Jefferson Campground. We stay there for 7 nights at a price of $57.16 a night.
This park wasn't anything special. The pool was a little bit dated. Playground wasn't that great. It felt like a mom and pop place that maybe wasn't being kept up because they had a lot of seasonal people or full-time people living there full-time.
I wasn't there for the RV park. We were there for the White Mountains and Mount Washington and everything there is to see out there. So this was just a really good place to park the RV. See, sometimes my experiences are based on what we did when we were there, and for me, New Hampshire was my favorite stay. So the RV park could honestly been a parking lot, and I still would have loved it because that's how awesome New Hampshire was.
For that price, I mean, you can't beat it. If you're not going to be in the park enjoying the things, why spend all your money on the park not enjoying the things?
We finish up the month of July leaving New Hampshire and traveling to Vermont. We stay at the KOA in Brattleboro, Vermont. We stay for 7 nights at a price of $84.77 a night. This campground was not bad. I just think a little bit on the expensive side. You're not really there for the campground. They did have plenty of things to do to keep you in the campground. You're there to go explore the Green Mountains this time and all the beauty of Vermont.
It had great big sites for it, or at least the site we were in was a really big site, which I loved. I also low-key love when we park in a site that has the trash cans right there, so we can just run our trash out and put it in the trash, and we had that at this park. They had that great community room that had the arcade and the puzzles and the DVDs, so the kids had a great time in there when it was raining. For me, I would stay here again. I think it was great. It felt like family owned, like the owners live right there on site, so anything you need, they're right there to attend to it, so I loved it.
So that is a quick rundown of all the campgrounds we stayed on our trip to Maine and a little after Maine. So that's January through July. Now me and Alicia are going to play a little game, and we're going to give you our top 5 and our bottom 5 campgrounds for the year. All right, so our first list, we're going to tell you the bottom 5 RV parks that we stayed at for this entire year. Alicia's up first. This is her bottom 5 RV parks that she will not stay at again.
From 5 to 1, here they are. Sorry for the chicken scratch.
Why did these make your list? Why is Sun Retreats Cape May the first one on your list? By the way, 5 is the best one of this list. 1 is absolutely never again.
Because I think that if I was ever in that area again, I would choose Sun Resort over the Sun Retreat. I just don't think that I would ever go back to that one. Although it was kind of nice, I didn't really enjoy it much.
Why did Wobaloom make your number 2 spot?
Wobaloom just rubbed me wrong when I had to put the quarters in the shower. That like did it for me. I don't like feeling like I'm in a old campground. I don't mind it being old as long as it's well kept. And I just don't feel like that one was very well kept in the bathhouse area. And then it was just so expensive for what we actually got to enjoy.
Next up, the Vineyards of Fredericksburg.
That one, while it was a nice park with nice sights, I just don't think it was very kid-friendly. I like to book parks where the kids are gonna have fun, so I wouldn't go back.
Next up, second to first on your list, Easy Days RV Park. Well, I know why you don't want to stay there. All right, moving on. That one was basically a parking lot by the airport.
Yeah, it's not an airport for passenger, or at least the flight path we were on. It's like a flight track for the FedEx and UPS flights, so they're constantly going. Like there's no downtime between flights, and it just felt like nobody was in the park. The dog park was super slanted, not my favorite.
And the number 1 campground that Alicia does not want to go back to is the Jefferson Campground. You know, I never saw that coming for your list.
Really? I expected that to be number 1 on your list, so I'm interested to see. For this one, it just felt like everyone there was pretty much there permanently, and I don't really like to stay in the parks where everyone is there permanently because it feels like you're an outsider coming in. Also, the playground just wasn't that great, like we mentioned. The pool was really old, the site was small. It just wasn't a very welcoming place, even though everything around the park in New Hampshire was excellent. I think I would pick somewhere else.
Interesting. Y'all ready to see my bottom 5? So my bottom 5 are a little bit different than Alicia's.
Here they are. Oh, interesting. So at number 5, we have Pisgah Forest RV.
Perfectly good park. I just never going back because my RV doesn't fit without dragging the ground when you leave. So it's an infrastructure thing. Like, great park, I just can't go there again.
Which we should mention, he said the city might be fixing it, so we might get to go back there. All right, number 4, Sun Retreats Cape May.
All right, so this one's the same as Alicia's Jefferson. I don't really like to go to places where it's permanent RVs. Now, these were seasonal sites, but it definitely felt like we didn't belong because there was only a handful of traveling sites. The rest were all full-time seasonal sites. It's a different vibe. They're not really set up for travelers. They're there for their weekend partying before they go back to the work week. Cool idea, but it's not for the way we want to travel.
Number 3, we have American Heritage. Really?
I'm more mad about the fact that they overcharged me, or they charged me for their name and where they were, and the park did not live up to all the things. Like, this is the first time I realized that they have an amazing website and the website did not match the experience. It wasn't worth that money. They just charged me. You know what? I'm not going back there again. Just because you're in Williamsburg doesn't mean you get to charge Williamsburg prices.
Interesting. Okay. And number 2, we have Easy Days. That was my number 2 also.
Really, Easy Days made my list because it's not somewhere you go. Like you said in the beginning, that is where a lot of people work and stay at when they work. We were there for work as well. We were there to fix the RV. It served its purpose and we got out. No reason to ever go back. There's better choices if you want to see Memphis, Tennessee.
Number 1, we've got Brush Creek Falls. That's interesting.
I just did not enjoy my time in West Virginia. I mean, I know we were there before the season, but even if we would have been in season, this campground is not how I want to remember West Virginia. There's got to be better campgrounds than this one. And they also had an amazing website. When we got there, we realized we weren't staying at that website. We were staying at what that park used to be. Wasn't a bad park, but if I'm going to West Virginia, I'm not going here.
You know, if I'm being honest, I kind of forgot about Brush Creek Falls. So I think I would change out my Wobble-Loom with Brush Creek. I kind of forgot about that one. But either way, that was fun.
So that is our bottom 5. Time for the top 5. 1, 2, 3. Oh!
Wow, we couldn't have planned that any better.
Man, I really liked Elm Hill. It's a great place. I would love to go back. Ready, set, go. Oh, 2 for 2!
Oh my gosh! Are you reading my mind?
No, 2 for 2. Can we go 3 out of 3 on our top 5? Ready, set, go. Oh!
Oh, just a little different. Okay.
I like this one because this was actually a vacation for us. We didn't do much filming here. This was our downtime. I love this one because this is vacation.
Right, which I kind of feel the same way about this one. It was a little bit like vacation because we were there over a holiday weekend.
Memorial Day.
Yeah, Memorial Day weekend. So we got to play in a cornhole tournament. The pool was awesome. The playground was great. There was tons of people around. Even though it didn't have sewer, I think next time we would come better prepared. We would empty our tanks before getting there. And I think it would be okay, especially if you were there just for a little while. I had a great time here, but yours is a good one too.
All right, time for the top 2. Ready, set, go. Oh!
I thought that was going to be your number 1. You talk about that place all the time.
Oh, man.
Man, what is your number 1?
We're 3 out of 4 we've agreed on.
That's awesome.
What do you think number 1's going to be? What is your number 1 RV park for this trip?
I can tell you it's not the same as yours.
Ready?
Spoiler alert.
Set, go. Oh!
Yeah, so for all the same reasons you said, this was like on your list. It felt like we were on vacation. I love the sand. I love the ocean. Anything doing with that, this felt like a complete vacation for us. The swim up bar, the great playgrounds. I had a great time at this park, so I would definitely want to go back to this one. What about you?
This was a great stay. We had family in town, and it was a great place for kids. This was all about the kids. The water park was awesome. This felt like a summertime vacation.
Right. I'm so shocked that DC wasn't your number one.
Well, they were in there, but this was...
the way you talk about the DC park, I mean...
If it had been warm enough for pools, DC might have pulled out the win, but they didn't have a water park.
Yeah, or if we would have had more time to stay at the park and enjoy everything. But you've just talked about it so much. I just knew
it was
that
right
was
there,
your number
top
one.
3.
This was fun. I think we should do this again.
Well, we do have to get back home, so we might do this again on our campgrounds we stay at between Maine and Texas. All right, Kayla Boo, can you show me what you drew? Oh, that's your favorite campground.
Yeah, it was it.
So what was your favorite campground on this whole trip?
Yogi!
Yogi Bear. She likes Yogi Bear with the water park the same as me, but that's because we had family in town. We had Avery and Audra in town visiting. So you had a great time with Yogi. Did you love Yogi?
Yeah.
You want to go back? All right.
All right, Bobo.
Oh, sure.
This is a serious decision. Tell us what your favorite RV park was on this whole trip. Nothing? None of them. You ain't have a favorite of all those stays? None of these were your favorite stays?
Yeah.
Come on, man, you gotta have a favorite. What was your favorite RV park on this whole trip?
Yogi.
Yogi? You also liked Yogi? Man, that's 3 of the 5 people in this family liked Yogi Bear. And we all know he probably loved Yogi Bear too. He's just not telling us. So that is our campground rankings for just this trip to Maine. And it got me thinking, you know, we've been to over 100 different campgrounds across 34 states since we started our full-time journey.
That's hard to believe.
Would you guys want to see an all-time top 10 or maybe an all-time bottom 10?
Oh, that would be good. You're gonna really have to do some reminding for me.
You guys let us know. What is the best campground you've ever stayed at and what is the worst campground you have ever stayed at? Thanks for hanging out with us. We love you. See you in the next one.